in this meditation. So thank you so much. We'll just settle in just a moment. So I invite you to just settle in where you are, to take a breath, and allow your body just to be where it is, to feel the support of the chair or wherever you are, just to feel that support. And allow your shoulders to drop. Wiggle around if you need to find that most comfortable place. And taking a nice big breath into the belly, allowing it to rise. And as you exhale, notice your shoulders dropping. Notice your body becoming a little more relaxed. And let's take that nice big belly breath in again. And letting go with an nice big sigh. One more time, and this time really ground into your feet, into the chair. Just belly breath in. Hold, and let go. So allowing the body, allowing the mind to become fully present in this moment, the only moment that it is. It's the present. Allowing this moment to connect in, to recognize our one connection to Spirit, to Source, to Father, Mother, God. That connection is always there. It is always present. And this is our time to just settle in and feel and strengthen and know, really know in our bones, in our cells, that we are all one. So settling into your breath. Whatever sounds may be around you, whatever thoughts that are going through your head, just release them. Know that it is all God expressing. Breathing into your heart, finding the silence within so that we can listen more fully, more open, and more connected to Source. And breathing deeper into the space, knowing that this is our space to connect with our higher self, to divine spirit, to divine source. And that the louder the swirl of the external world, we know we can always come here to feel love, to feel connection, to feel peace, to feel light. Breathing that in. Deeper into that space of oneness. And it is within this silence that we experience the one source, the one divine mind, the one creator, the one creation that is all present and accessible always to us in this moment. And this divine love flows through me as it flows through you, and it flows through everyone and everything, because there is only the one thing. And this love and light flows through us. This protection, this power, this peace. And I'm so, so grateful to know that I can tap in, that we can tap into this stillness, this knowing on every level, in our bones, in our cells, that we are part of creation and we are one with creation. This is our sacred moment, and it is always now. So with a grateful heart, I release this word, this sense, knowing that this day moves forward in peace and love and light, and that we get to create that. So with love and light, I release my word into the law, knowing that it is all good, all present, all perfect. And so it is. And service will start in about 10 minutes. So we'll have a little bit of music in the meantime, and we can ease into our day. So just stay tuned.
Beloveds, while we wait for service to start, I would love for us to do something that happens at another center in Edmonton, and that is, please right now introduce yourself to someone you don't know here. Just say hello, introduce yourself, say, hey, what brought you here, and get to know some people in the room. And the music can keep going.
We ready to get moving in here?
Yes.
Ready
if you are.
Welcome, everybody, to Silicon Valley Center for Spiritual Living. We're about to get started with our opening song. There's dancing involved. I'm Jenna Brown. I'm your praise team, and this is Sonia Trejo, our music director.
Everybody. So good to see you all. Here we go.
Everybody, get up on your feet. See the light in everybody you meet. Everybody, get up on your feet. See the light in everybody you meet. Let us be reminded of who we've come to be. We are love, we are one big family. Hey, hey, yeah, yeah. Hey, 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 yeah, yeah. Let us make a joyful sound. Here we stand on holy ground. Let us make a joyful sound. Here we stand on holy ground. Let us make a joyful sound. Hey, 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 everybody, get up on your feet. See the light in everybody you meet. Hey, hey, yeah, yeah. Hey, 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 yeah, yeah.
Good morning. Okay, how's this? Good morning? There we go. Okay. Oh my goodness, welcome to Silicon Valley Center for Spiritual Living. It is so good to see everyone here. I am Reverend Rasherly McCreary. I'm your spiritual director. And, well, thank you. Thank you. It's always good that everyone's still happy. I like that. Still getting applause. That's a good thing. It's a very good sign. Oh my goodness, happy Father's Day. Happy Father's Day to the fathers and those who father. Happy Father's Day. Yeah, so beautiful. The divine masculine, alive and well and operating and necessary in the world. So thank you for all the fathers. And today we have a very, very special service, which I'll talk about in just a moment. So in the meantime, what I would love to do is have Joni Quintal, our practitioner in training, is going to do our call to service. And then I'll do the invocation. And then Dr. Damon Miller will come up and do our announcements. Joni.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, Jones.
I love that. If you'll take a deep breath with me and feel the seat supporting you this morning and your feet on the ground, and allow the vibration of this bowl to invoke the divine masculine throughout the day.
How sweet and how good it is to hear the laughter. I believe there's a Father's Day brunch. Is that right, Trudy?
There's not a special brunch.
Okay, well, just to hear the laughter and the sounds of togetherness and recognizing it is indeed the divine presence. How good it is to recognize that presence that has no beginning and no ending, that presence that is all intelligent, all powerful, that presence that is everywhere. There is not a spot where God is not. It is everywhere expressing. No matter the appearance, no matter the situation, no matter the circumstance, God is. And so how good it is this morning on this special day of honoring fathers to just remember this truth and to honor the divine masculine, that place and space that is the protector and the provider and the caring and the comfort, the guiding and the directing. And how good it is to know that this magnificent presence, this magnificent energy, this magnificent beingness expresses in, through, and as each of us. And so I know that this time we spend together in this service is good and so very good in this gathering. And I bless every hand that prepared a place and a way and a space for us to be here this morning, from the hotel staff to the production team, the musicians, the ushers, the Sunday service crew that just make sure everything runs well. And I bless each of you in these seats and online watching, knowing that you are blessed and loved and held and guided and protected and directed, no matter what. And so I just feel such deep gratitude this morning for our time together and for this gathering. And I simply release this word now. I let it be and I let it go. We say together, and so it is. And so it is. So beautiful, Dr. Damon.
Announcements, announcements, announcements. So there aren't too many, thankfully, today. The main thing, everything that I'm going to tell you now is on our website. If you just go to siliconvalleycsl.com, and you'll find all these things listed there on the front page. We have a fun thing going on. Audrey White, a board member, is... Hi, Audrey. She's hosting karaoke this Friday, June 20th. You need to sign up for it. You sign up on the webpage, and there will be information that comes your way then through email about where her house is, how to bring it. It's a potluck, bring your own beverage, so BYOB, and come. You don't need to commit to singing. You can just come and listen, but you're welcome to sing as well. Two other things which are regulars, every morning, Monday through Friday, Reverend Cheryl around 7:15 to 7:30 arrives at the Campbell Track and for walk with the Rev. And the other thing is that every morning, Monday through Friday, starting at 9 online, there's a meditation, and that's followed up by a big pray up by Reverend Rasherly for everybody who shows up on the meditation. So again, just to find the link for that, it's a Zoom call. To find the link for that, just go to the website siliconvalleycsl.com. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
We've got a song for you guys now by the great Ricky Byers and the Agape Choir.
Yes, see the best. Who knows this song? Okay, please sing along with us.
We'll guide you through it.
There's a new territory that I never saw before. The fire of transformation breaking through my core, shining in the darkness. I can see the light of day. In this new territory, it is my strength, it is my way. Yes, this new territory, it is my strength, so let us pray. I pray that you see the best of life, the best of love.
the very best of everything.
Well, I
pray
that you
see the best of life, the best of love, the very best of everything.
wake up,
Wake up and see the best of life, the best of love, the very best of everything.
wake up,
Wake up and see the best of life, the best of love, the very best of everything.
let go,
Let go
go.
and see the best of life, the best of love, the very best of everything.
let go,
Let go and see the best of life, the best of love, the very best of everything.
let go,
Let go
Let go.
and see the best of life, the best of love, the very best of everything.
say yes,
Say yes,
Say yes.
and see the best of life, the best of love, the very best of everything.
say yes,
Say yes,
Say yes.
and see the best of life, the best of love, the very best of everything.
forgive,
Forgive and see the best of life, the best of love, the very best of everything.
forgive,
Forgive and see the best of life, the best of love, the very best of everything.
wake up,
Wake up and see the best of life, the best of love, the very best of everything.
wake up,
Wake up and see the best of life, the best of love, the very best of everything.
stand up,
Stand up and see the best of life, the best of love, the very best of everything.
there's a new territory that I never saw before, like a fire of transformation is breaking through my core, shining in the darkness. Can you see the light of day in this new territory? It is my strength, it is my way. Yes, this new territory, it is my strength, so let us pray. Well, I pray that you see the best of life, the best of love, the very best of everything.
Yes, thank you, Sonia Trejo, our music director, and just a musician extraordinaire. Like, did we know that Sonia played guitar? Anyone know that? Okay. I feel like I didn't really know this fully. And Jenna Brown, our praise team. I feel like Sonia can play anything. Yeah. And Jenna Brown, our praise team extraordinaire. Beautiful, beautiful. So wonderful. And our beloved Rodrigo is with his family today, with his girls and his wife today for Father's Day. So we are blessing him and his family. Yes. Oh, my goodness. So today we have a very special Father's Day service. And before we move into that, I want to welcome Reverend Robert Collins, who is here with us. He is a senior minister at CSL Monterey and is visiting us today. And we've known each other for a long time, so I'm so glad you're here. So welcome today. Yes, beautiful. And I also want to acknowledge our beloved practitioner and founding member who lives in Vegas, Frances Peck, is holding high watch for us today. And that means that she is in meditation in Vegas at 110 degrees in the house. I had to throw that in there. But she is holding space in a meditative space, just anchoring in the consciousness of the service. So we bless Fran for that. So I want to talk about our Father's Day conversation that we're going to have. And so I wanted to start just by reminding us that this month is the monthly theme of the art of courage, right? The courage it takes to show up, to speak up, to pray up. We've talked about these different things. And today's talk title is Speak Up, Healing the Father Relationship. And I know for myself, I posted a photo. I realized this morning that all of my family photos are in storage. I thought they were in my house, which I tore up a little bit looking for them and realized they're in storage. But I posted on Facebook a picture of me with my dad and my mom as an infant. And I couldn't find I couldn't find any other photos, actually. And so my father passed away last summer in July. And we had a difficult relationship through the years, but we were at peace when he passed. And one of the journeys for me that has been a journey I've been on my whole life is I love my dad, and I know that he loved me in the way that he could. And there was a type of father I wanted that never happened. And so part of my spiritual growth and development has been accepting that, right, and healing that. And I think that even if we did have a perfect relationship with our fathers, there may be things that we need to heal or discuss or look at or grow beyond or grow through. And so that's why today's talk is about healing the father relationship, whatever relationship you had with him. And for some folks, healing the father relationship relates to church hurt, right? Where it's like we have this idea of God as the father, this very sort of violent, vindictive, kind of father energy we've been raised with. And we know in Science of Mind that that is not true, right? The divine masculine and the divine feminine are both polarities. They have nothing to do with gender, but have to do with energies that are polarities and create a whole. So with that being said, I want to introduce two fine fathers and men who I adore in this community, who are going to be in conversation with me. So Mark Hurwich is a heart-centered coach serving purpose-driven leaders who feel stalled in their work or life. And his company is called Concentrated Coaching. Before that, Mark spent 34 years in leading strategy in global corporations and startups. He holds degrees from MIT and Wharton. And he brings over 1,400 hours of clinical training in modalities such as internal family systems, NLP, hypnosis, and the Akashic Records. And I adore Mark. We met a couple of years ago, and he is also a board member. And so I'm just glad that he is here and willing to have this conversation. And I want to introduce our next individual, then we'll have a seat and start our time together. So Dr. Damon Miller is a physician, organic farmer, which I did not know that, organic farmer and author who's practiced natural, drug-free healing since 1995. Dr. Damon was trained as a board-certified radiologist and classical acupuncturist, and he's helped thousands heal from chronic illnesses through safe, holistic therapies. His work integrates Eastern and Western medicine, and he's especially known for pioneering work in eye health and wellness. And I'm so glad Dr. Damon is here. I adore him and his beloved wife, Morgane, and Mark's beloved wife, Gail, but just so wonderful. And Dr. Damon is our board treasurer. So, gentlemen, if you will come on up and have a seat here, and we will begin our conversation. And thank you for being willing to be in conversation. So, how are you feeling about going into this conversation?
A little nervous.
A little nervous, because I purposely didn't give you a lot of details, right? So here's what I thought we would do, is just really for you to share with us. I would love to start in looking at your sharing of your fathers and your experience with your fathers. And so if we could start there, that would be wonderful. So I think my first question for each of you is if you could share a little bit about your father and what you wanted more of or less of from him as a father.
Okay, I guess I'll go first. Hello.
It's on. Mm-hmm.
Hello. I guess I'll just talk loud.
Yeah, thank you.
So, my father was a really, really loving man with a strong sense of ethics and, things that are right. Maybe at times a handicappingly strong sense of that. So I love that element of him. He was a great model of being a loving father. My family had a lot of focus on intellect, and that was an area where he wasn't as strong. And I think he got kind of teased a lot about that from other members of my family and my mom. So that might have been an element that could have changed a little bit. And I would have loved if we played more catch and stuff like that. But, fathers are human, and he was.
Yeah, my father died when I was 9. So, one thing I would have liked from him is just more of him. But he was an interesting man. I mean, I know a lot more about him now than I did when I was 9. But he and my mother both were very loving, were not afraid to say, "I love you." I mean, that was said a lot in my home. And he traveled a lot, so that was also, even when he was alive, he wasn't present a lot. That was just part of his work. But he was very good with me in terms of just listening and helping me. If I said I wanted to do something, well, let's do that. So he was very, very, I don't want to say permissive, but he basically listened very well. I'm aware of that now. And just one thing just about him that I want to say that I found out much later, but he had a lot of gifts that I never knew. Once I remember I was very young, he was on the phone with someone and he started speaking fluent German. And he was born in Indiana. He was a basketball player. He was 20 years older than my mother. And so he'd be like 129 now if he were alive. So I can forgive him for not being here. But, but the good thing about him being gone, I mean, this may sound a little strange to say, but I didn't have a lifetime of conflict with him. So I don't have a lot of wounds from the father to undo. But one other little bit that I'm aware of about him is I found out much later that he was a conscientious objector in World War I. And he came from a long line of people who were, I don't want to say pacifists. I mean, he wasn't a Quaker or anything like that, although that was definitely in the air in the areas where I was born and he was born. But I just found out that and so if you were a conscientious objector, he ended up in, I think, a medic position. he'd always wanted to be a doctor, but just wanted a little factoid. He had to drop out of college because prior to the First World War, there was a bigger depression than there was in the 30s. Nobody's alive to remember that now, but it was just a pretty terrible time economically. He had to drop out of school. He never became a doctor. He ended up going to work in the pharmaceutical industry after his degree.
Beautiful. Isn't it beautiful that you're a doctor?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of helps me understand where that came from. Yeah.
Yeah, so his legacy lives on through you, which is a beautiful thing. What would you say is the impact of your fathers on you being fathers? Like if you were to draw a thread from your experience of your father, how has that most shaped who you are as a father?
Yeah, well, one thing, and I attribute this to him, but one thing I found with my own son, who's now almost 40 years old, is that growing up with him, I was never one to push, partly because it just doesn't work usually with kids. It's much easier to pull, to lead, to just offer this, I'm going to go do this. If you want to come, that's great. And he wanted to do this. So pulling him along was much easier than pushing him. And later, growing up, my friends, the stories I'd hear of the experience that my friends had had with their father, I heard about a lot of pushing and a lot of regrets about that. My son was quite talented musically, and I guess if I have one regret is that I didn't push him more into that. But he managed to find a way himself. He's quite a skilled guitar player, plays the bass, and his mother had a lot to do with that. But I would tell him when he was young, you'd be really happy when you're older if you could play the piano. But I guess he didn't hear that. But he's turned out very well. Whatever. I'm grateful.
I guess with my father, and I didn't realize when I was growing up maybe how unusual this is, but he would always say, I love you, like every single day. And I remember talking to him about other parents who maybe didn't have great relationships with their kids. And, he made it really clear that the possibility of his disowning any of us was not going to happen. So that was sweet.
That's beautiful. Unconditional love. Yes, beautiful. So what, if anything, do you feel is the most, what can I say? What is the most valuable misstep you've made as a father?
Can I tell a little story?
Yes.
Yeah, so I remember one day when my older son was probably around 4, he'd done something that just got me furious. I can't remember what it is now, but it got me furious at the time. And I was livid. I was thinking of all the things my father and my mother would do to punish me that I didn't want to do as a parent, but they were right at my fingertips. And I said something like, Andy, I am so angry with you, I don't know what to do. And I had no more words after that, not because I was being intelligent, letting him respond, because I just had nothing else to say. And in that silence, my son said, oh, Daddy, I understand. Maybe I should go to bed early, like the next couple of nights. And in that moment, I realized that I'd had this belief that somehow I had to be a good father, and my model of a good father wasn't perfect, because who is? But with that interaction with my son, I realized that no, that's not it. I just have to be authentic. That if I was myself with him, that ultimately what needed to happen would come out. And so I think my son taught me how to be a good father.
Yeah, that's, the first thing that comes to mind, you asked the question, is, my son's mother and I divorced when he was still pretty young. He was a teenager, but, and I know that was very hard on him. and because he told me so. And I know he had a year or so of really having a hard time. I mean, his mother and I have made, and I think have done a pretty good job of staying together, being parents, realizing that we have this child together, that we have to be parents. But it just wasn't in the cards for me and for her to stay together. Mm-hmm. And looking back, I don't think there's any way we tried, but any way we could have made it work. But I think that was I count that as a misstep. Mm-hmm. And just to kind of tag on to what Mark was saying, I wasn't raised with corporal punishment or spankings or anything like that, and I was determined that there had to always be a better way than hitting your kid, and managed to find ways to deal with things.
Mm-hmm. Like what?
Mostly, it was kind of like what Mark is saying. It's just sort of being honest. I just remember from my own growing up, when my father was still alive, that as a child, one of my things I'm aware of as a child is that the thing I always wanted to know is, why do people do this? How do things work? Help me understand this. And my father, I could ask him questions about that, and he would try to answer. He would try his best to answer. And so I would kind of be listening for if Adam was. I mean, there was one thing, this is years before we got divorced, but I just remember, I think he was about 3 years old. He's in a car seat. He's in the back of the car, back seat. We're driving somewhere. And just out of nowhere, he just says, "Daddy, why do people fight with each other?" And referring to his mother and me. And so just that realizing, this was an argument I always had with my wife. She goes, I would say, he knows what we're up to. He knows what we're feeling. He knows what we're saying to each other, even if we only say it when he's not there. If he's asleep and we're talking, he knows. Mm-hmm. And so I always, I never assumed that he was shielded from anything that was going on. Mm-hmm. And I just wanted to help him understand. So,
yeah. Mm. What would you say is the thing that you haven't said already? The thing that you are most proud about in terms of how you've raised your children, and also you both have grandchildren, right?
Yes.
And also your grandchildren.
I think just having respect for them and being really interested in them and being really loving of them. I just can't think of too many things I enjoy better than being with my kids, and it's mutual. And I've been in men's groups where there's a lot of estranged relationships, and I feel really blessed that I've been able to keep that connection. And it's so sweet to see my son kind of raising a son now.
How have you kept that connection? Like, how have you been present?
Now maybe not as much as when they were in the house, but just sort of being available. And when my kids ask me questions, kind of really thinking about what the answers were. And I guess also being flexible when I asked them a question and they had an unusual response, like the same son that said, maybe I shouldn't have the book at night, when his mother said, maybe it's time to talk about Andy, about the birds and the bees. And I opened up the conversation. His response was, "Sure, Dad, what do you want to know?" So I'm glad I could raise a child that would respond that way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I love that.
Again, I'm just going to go with the first thing that came to mind when you asked this question. There was a point where he was, my son, one thing, this is just a side note really, but my son had a first wife. He was married for almost 5 years, and then they separated because they just were going their different ways. But it's interesting because his mother, my first wife, was about 8 years older than me, and he married a woman about 8 years older than him, who he ended up divorcing. his mother's name is Liz. His wife's name was Lise, just the French spelling of Liz. And I don't want to go on and on, but just realizing, wow, he's living out my life. And, you know, the good and the bad, but just being aware of that and watching and telling him about that, you know, just pointing that out to him, you know, that there are some things in my life that you really don't want to relive. You need to know about what my life was about. You need to know so that you can have at least a chance of not just doing that all over again in your generation. But the other thing, just I wasn't permissive with him. You know, he couldn't do anything he wanted to. But I remember just really trying to support him. And there was a point in, I think it was 2009, 2008, you know, the Great Recession, you know, that kind of laughingly euphemistic word for the economic disaster. But he'd been in this job for a few years, and he wanted to be a writer. He was working as a writer, but it just wasn't working for him. And he finally decided, I need to leave this job. And I go, yeah, leave it, you know. And he did. And when he left the job, when he called me up and said I quit, you know, and I go, yes, you know, yes, you're doing what you need to do. You know, you need to step out of this. And his mother was, oh, how can you do this? You know, there's a terrible economic times, and now it's time to quit. You know, and so it was just that difference between her and me. You know, the father. I've always been aware that the father offers something different than the mother, and part of it is to kind of temper what the mother does. You know, the mother is much closer to the child. The mother has much more influence, and the father needs to be sort of monitoring that relationship and not, you know, tempering it.
So that's interesting. So say more about that. So say more about that. What do you mean by that? Because I think there are question marks above people's heads right now.
Well, I think, you know, in many ways, the mother has been responsible for the survival of the child. You know, I mean, literally. I mean, feeding him, caring for him, nurturing him. In our case, in the relationship we had, I was working a lot. You know, it was during the years of my, you know, we had him when I was still in medical school, and so all through the kind of grueling postgraduate training and everything. And then I was working, moonlighting to make extra money, because, you know, here I don't just need to support myself. I've got a wife and a child, and I could make far more money than she could. That's a whole nother story, but that was a mistake to kind of be thinking that way, I just want to say, you know. But that the mothers, I think, are first of mind is the survival of the child. Just watching, you know, I was just visiting yesterday with my son and grandson. Yeah, thank you. In Africa, when somebody sneezes when you're saying something, it's a blessing. Yeah, listen to that. That was, but you know, just watching his, you know, my grandson's mom. You know, careful, don't do that. You know, get down. You know, you could hurt yourself. You know, and I'm going, and I was more of the mind that, you know, let him make the mistakes now. You know, he's only this tall. If he falls down, he's not going to really hurt himself that much. You know, let him fail at school. Let him do what he's doing and see what the consequences are of that when he's 12 years old and not when he's 30. You know, just so there was a part of that kind of countering that protectiveness, that almost, I don't want to say smothering, but that kind of, you know, mothering instinct, which is good, but there needs to be a little balancing to that. You know, let him go out, let him try, you know, let him do.
Beautiful. Thank you. Will you share about the role of spirituality in raising your children? So as a father, how did that factor in? Because you both are very much in spiritual community now. And so how did spirituality play a role in you as a father?
I would say for me, that was something where at the time my wife kind of took the lead. So my family of origin was very oriented to my mother and her family, which had a bunch of sisters, and they were all kind of fairly religious. And her parents, of course, were Orthodox Jews. They became conservative Jews. My father really never been brought up in any tradition, even though his father was a rabbi when he came over here. He was also a lawyer who didn't like the ethics of other very religious people, and so he became an atheist. And he thought it'd be a good strategy to let his son decide what he wanted to do when he grew up. And I don't think that's such a good strategy, because you need a certain amount of training to do things, you know, and when you're in your 20s, it's kind of hard to get that training. So I was a journeyer. I think a lot of my youth, I was, very strongly point of view atheist and all that stuff. And somehow when we knew we were having kids, my wife and I decided it would be good to start to, you know, check out different synagogues, and we did, and we found one, and we really liked it. And so I think kind of over time, I got less, what's the word I want? Rigid about what religion, you know, needed to look like, and more accepting and more willing to have experiences. And part of that was because we wanted our children to have that experience and not have to, in their 20s, kind of start on that path. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah, that's, I mean, in a way, I wish there'd been a little more spirituality in the fathering I was doing. It wasn't absent, but it wasn't structured. It wasn't formal. It wasn't, I didn't insist that my, you know, I was raised as a Congregationalist, you know, and the Congregationalists are, you know, your relationship between you and your God is your business. And if you can have a relationship with God and you don't ever go to church, fine, do that. You know, it's, and so, but I'd always had a kind of, personally, I'd always had a spiritual sort of bent. Not just a bent. You know, I've always had a sort of nonsense detector even from the time I was a young kid. And so, you know, if I go to church with a friend or something and they're teaching hell and brimstone, I'd just go, well, that's just a bunch of nonsense. That makes no sense to me at all, that that's the way things are put together. And I started doing the kind of natural medicine I'm doing now. I bought my first book on medicinal herbs when I was 11 or 12 years old with money I was making mowing grass, you know, and it only occurred to me much later that nobody else in my school was doing that, you know. So so there was just that connection to the natural world, that connection to something about truth, and that lineage of pacifism. I mean, I made it really clear to my son, this was after the Vietnam War, but made it really clear to him that no way in the world, you know, that there were a lot of things I'd let him do, but I would never let him go to war. And he understood that. You know, we watched some of the movies from the Vietnam era, and you know, just for him to get a sense of this is what war is. It's really ugly, and you want nothing to do with it, and it never makes any sense. War has never gotten anybody anything. And so that's the closest thing to spirituality that was in my fathering.
Beautiful. What would you offer as words of, I shy away from advice, but that's what's coming up. But for those who are fathering now, who maybe have young children, and this is a very turbulent time that we are in. It's a very different world with social media and with so many things that children are exposed to that didn't exist, you know, even 20 years ago. So what would you say from your seat now as a father and grandfather? What would you offer as advice or words of wisdom to those who are fathering right now? Fathering young children, I should say.
So I guess building on the little vignette I shared, it's not about playing a role. It's about being authentic with your children. And, you know, your children, when they're 2, don't understand the things they do when they're 20. So it has to be age appropriate. But it's not just that you get to be a better father, it makes the experience of fathering like so much more satisfying. I love learning from my kids.
Yeah, well, like Mark, as I said, I grew up in a family where people regularly told me, my mother and father, my grandmother, that they loved me. I mean, that was said out loud frequently. And I think that's, you know, and to really think about the notion of, if you're a father, think about what is unconditional love. What does that mean? How would I do that? How would I love my child unconditionally? And so, looking back, there was never, in my relationship with my son, there was never, if you don't do this, I'm going to do that. If you don't do this, I'm going to leave you, or I'm going to disown you, or that was never in the conversation. So that would be my advice, is to just love your child, be authentic, like Mark says, and but make that really clear, make that explicit. Just how connected you are to them, how much you care for them, that you and be honest. I don't know what your purpose is on this earth. I don't know what your life looks like. I don't know those things. But if you need help from me, ask me. If you need something from me, come. Because I'm listening. I want to help, but I'm not gonna step on your ideas just to impose my own.
Beautiful, wonderful. Is there anything else that you feel was left unsaid? And I really wonder for you. I think, Mark, you mentioned in some of the men's groups you've been in where there were many men who were estranged from their children. And I know during the pandemic, in my coaching practice, I coached lots of men, male executives, and what I saw during the pandemic was, for the first time, for some of them, they had to be at home, right? So they were home for dinner, they were working, they had to work from home, they had to take on more care of their children, and it really shifted for them, for some of them. It really helped shift for them being present to their children's lives in ways that they had not really been before. And so I saw that as sort of a byproduct blessing of the pandemic for some people, was it really helped reorient them to their families that they were busy providing for, but they weren't physically present for, right? So is there anything you would offer to the men who are estranged, the fathers who are estranged from their families, either because of work or emotionally? What would you say to them or offer?
I'm not sure that I'd say anything from a position of authority, because I haven't had that experience, but I can imagine how challenging an experience it is. Maybe the one thing I'd say is that our society puts an awful lot of emphasis on knowing everything and getting everything right the first time. And as I've aged, I've decided that not knowing the answer, but having multiple possibilities is easier. And it's great if you get it right the first time, but good repair attempts are really blessings. So yeah, keep working on the repair.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I guess two things that I think of in response to that. One is something that was said to me in a different context, but a long time ago, is you never lose your children. Your bond to your children it's a bond of blood, and whether they're there or whether they're not, you're bonded to them. You never lose your children. And to act in that way. So even if, all kinds of things have gone on and you're estranged from them, I always trust, my first assumption is that people did their best, and even if that didn't work, you got to keep trying. I mean, that's part of being a parent, is you do your best, you look back, you go, well, that didn't work very well, but you show up the next day. Mm-hmm. And so even if you're estranged from your kid, it's the obligation is on you to keep trying, and that can be through prayer. That doesn't have to be calling them all the time. Mm-hmm. And the other thing that, a little different, but I've spent a lot of time in West Africa. I've worked with healers there. I've known a lot of people that have come over here, in the African diaspora. And one of the things that's, you hear, and you kind of attribute this idea, it takes a village to raise a child. That's kind of an African idea. But what that looks like in Africa is that, an African person is going to look at our idea of the nuclear family, mother, father, 2.5 kids, and go, whose idea was that? How in the world could anybody think that two people are going to offer everything that one child needs? You need the grandparents, you need the aunts, the uncles, the friends, the thing. And even in Africa, the way that people are referred to in terms of your relationship, your blood relationship, they don't have this, second cousin twice removed thing. If they're your age, they're your brother or your sister. If they're your parents' age, they're your parents. And if they're older, they're your grandparents. They're the elders. And so it's just a much simpler kind of language to talk about how all the adults relate. But, my closest friend from a village in West Africa, they would disappear for, a week. They would go live with their aunt and uncle, and because they just couldn't deal with what their mother or father was doing. And that was fine. They knew they were safe. They knew they were fine. But what I'm trying to say is cultivate those other adults in your life, as the relationships, your relationship with the other adults who can come and help and be there for your kids, and to help with that parenting.
If I can add something, when I reflect on my men friends who've had challenging relationships, it was really helpful for them to talk about it with other men. So hopefully we'll be getting a men's group going here.
Yes.
And there are ones you can find in the area. So if that's going on, find some buddies. It's hard to talk about, and it's a very, very difficult thing to manage alone.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Mark and Dr. Damon. And Connie, did you have your hand up? Yes.
I love it and have a belief in the idea of it takes a village to raise a child or to do anything. And what do you do with the fact that you have such differing and beliefs and even levels of values than other family members, and you don't trust leaving them with other family members, not gross differences, but you don't want your child to grow up with a thought.
Beautiful. I'm going to repeat your question so they can hear it online. So Connie's question is, yes, it takes a village to raise a child, and then what happens if within your village there are varying values, varying practices, and things that you may not want your children to be exposed to because they're not the values that you hold?
Thank you, Connie, for that very difficult question.
Damon, thank you for starting.
No, that's a tough one. That's a very tough one. I think you pray about it. Did you say that? Yeah, I heard that. I was thinking the same thing. That's why I heard it. I think you just have to, it's like anything else. You have to, what is it that you're holding? You're holding that you want your child to have a great life. You want them to live the life of their purpose. You want them to, learn from different people, different things, learn what they need. And you have to hold that as a value and trust that that will be called forth. I would not, I would not let my kid, if I were a parent now, I wouldn't let my kid go over to a home where I knew that there was just a lot of, 24/7 toxic TV on, and, everybody's talking about the latest thing of inducing fear. I'd want to shield them from that. So you would have to use a lot of discretion, but also, how do you call in what you want? You hold it as a, in CSO, you hold it as a mental equivalent. What do I want for my kids? What do I want? Yeah. And trust that will come forward.
Yeah. Beautiful. And I will also say that one of the things we know as we become adults and start adulting is that we have our birth family, right, our family of origin, and then we have our chosen family, right, where we actually, to your point, Damon, like we magnetize those folks around us who share our values and share our beliefs. And that's one of the beautiful things of spiritual community. We're having a very strong and solid spiritual community. We're babies here at Silicon Valley because we're a startup. We don't have a family ministry yet, but for many families, part of that village is the spiritual community, right, where there's a strong youth and family component, because you're with people who once you go through classes with people, you get to know them in a different way, at a different depth, and you begin to understand who your chosen family is, right, and who you can trust your children with. And it may not be the family of origin, and there may be other other people who come in to support that. Yeah.
Did you have anything you wanted to say about Connie's question?
What time is it? I think we're okay. All right. Yeah. Yes.
I know. That's why
we're gonna wrap.
put
We're
him on
gonna
the
wrap
spot
up
here.
now. Yeah. Did you want to add something? All right. So we have completed our conversation. Unless there's anything else anyone wants to add or say here or add to this. So I would just love to thank Mark Hurwich and Dr. Damon Miller. Thank you so much for sharing your journey of fatherhood and sonhood. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. So we will. I will take your microphones for you. And I think we have a.
Are you going to do a father blessing for us?
I am. Turn these mics off.
I need to be still and let God love me. Okay.
Okay, beloved. So let's just turn within, and I will do a healing prayer. We'll go into our last song, and we will gallop to the end of the service. And so let's just take a nice deep breath here, if you will. And so we just settle into the love that is present in this space and in this room and in this place. Recognizing that love as divine, as the all that is. And specifically, we settle in right now to feeling and sensing the divine masculine, the divine Father, the Father God presence. And not to be confused with patriarchy, the Father God, the divine masculine, is that unconditional loving space and place. That all-powerful, all-knowing, guiding, providing for space and place. And so we know that the Divine Father so loved each of us that it created each of us out of itself. And so at the core, each of us is anchored to the Divine Father presence, the Divine Mother presence. And so what I am knowing for each one here this day is that a mighty healing is happening right now. That a mighty movement is happening right now. That a mighty clearing is happening right now. And I bless the fathers in this space, knowing that even as I speak this word, that whatever needs to be lifted, released, let go of, and dissolved is done so easily. And knowing for each father in this space, however, each one needs to be lifted and celebrated and cheered on. Good job. Whatever is needed is happening right now. And so just knowing that the fathers are blessed and blessings. And knowing for those whose relationship was not all that they desired it to be with their father, I declare and know right now that there is a healing that is taking place, a clearing that is taking place, forgiveness that is taking place, letting go that is taking place, a blessing that is taking place. The space is healed and cleared and dissolved and filled with love and forgiveness and peace. Peace of mind, peace of heart, peace of being. And so on this Father's Day, we just stand in the awareness that God is everywhere present, always providing, always protecting and loving, and that our lives are completely, thoroughly blessed. And I am so grateful to know this truth. I am so grateful to speak the truth. And I am so grateful for this container of love. And so with deep gratitude, I simply release this word now. I let it be and I let it go. All is well. And so it is. So it is.
to be still and let God love me. I need to be still and let God love me. When this whole world starts to push and shove me, I need to be still and let God love me. Again, I need to be still and let God love me. I need to be still and let God love me. When this old world starts to push and shove me, I need to be still and let God love me. I need to be still and let God love me. I need to be still and let God love me. When this old world starts to push and shove me, I need to be still and let God love me. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So beautiful. Okay. We are now. Thank you. We are now in our conscious giving time, and it is the time that we participate in the divine law of giving and receiving. And so I invite you now to just take out your tithes and offerings, and Marilee will be passing a basket around to accept offerings. She will also have in that basket a little heart. So if you'd like to give online, you can just click the QR code and donate online using the little heart that says, I have abundance because I am abundance. And while that basket is going around, I will ask you to take your offering or the energetic of it, if you're an online giver, hold it to your heart and repeat after me. And for those online, you can go to our website, siliconvalleycsl.com, and click the donate button. So just repeat after me, holding your offering to your heart. Divine love through me, blesses and multiplies, all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, all that I receive, and all that I circulate. Thank you, God.
Thank you, God.
And so it is. Wonderful.
God is my source. God is my power. God gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. God gives me everything I need. God is my source. God is my power. God gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. God gives me everything I need. God gives me everything I need. God gives me everything I need.
All right. So we have a Pride Insight from Jenna. It is Pride Month. Woo, woo, woo. And so we have a Pride Insight from Jenna who gives us some incredible insights every week. And then we will have a few more things and then we're out.
Yes. I'm using number 2 right now, just so our production team knows. And if you didn't know, our production team is Scott McCauley and Hector Torres. Thank you. So last week I told you about Public Universal Friend, who was a person from the 1700s, and they came out and said, do not call me a man, do not call me a woman. I am that I am. And in history, that doesn't often happen that way, where people explicitly say, I do not identify as a cis hetero person doing the same thing that everyone else thinks is the normal thing. So we just have to take like context clues based on other evidence around them. So this week I'm telling you about George Washington Carver, who you may know as like the peanut guy from American history. He was born in the 1860s, not exactly sure when because he was born enslaved. And slavery was abolished a few years after he was born. And he was also orphaned early, and so he was encouraged to study, learn to read and write, and find education. So when he was a teenager, he started traveling around the whole Midwest and the East, seeking education. And he did experience plenty of racism, of course, in that time, but he had an astounding, like famous to everyone who met him, sense of unconditional love for everyone around him. And he would say, "How my soul goes out to people who have not found the first principle of true happiness and divine love, which must rule the world." And so he did get educated. He was accepted to Iowa State University. He was their first black student. He got his master's degree there, and then he became their first black faculty member as well. And then he got an offer to teach at the Tuskegee Institute in Alabama. And that was where he started making a huge impact in his community, the broader area, teaching plant biology, and he was a very prolific inventor and innovator, and he revitalized the entire economy of the South. The soil had been completely nutritionalized. There was no good stuff in the dirt anymore after all the cotton. And the cotton had all been destroyed by the boll weevil as well. So people were like, what are we going to grow? And he came up with these new cash crops for people to grow, and he would teach them how to plant them and crop rotation and to give a rebirth to the actual dirt of the South. And he had a lot of students who studied with him, and he would give them he said that he would give free advice because God doesn't charge anything. And he also believed that science was the art of revealing God in nature. He didn't use the scientific method of, I have a hypothesis, now I have to test it a dozen times, tweak things slightly, fail a million times, and failure is good, and you do learn things from it. But he would go on a walk into nature in the morning. He said he would talk with God, come back to the lab, and follow God's instructions in his research. And that was how things were revealed to him. And so with the whole evidence of having a non-straight identity, he had some very close relationships with the men who studied with him, and he did have a relationship for a while with a woman. So we can't say for certain if he was queer. People didn't even have that type of language up until a certain point. He was focused on expressing divine love and revealing that for everyone around him. And he was so magnetic that he spoke before Congress one time, which was a big deal in and of itself. And he originally had 10 minutes to describe the industrial uses of plants besides just eating them. And Congress kept extending his time, and then they're like, you just take as long as you need. And he spoke to them for an hour about plants and how to use them. They were just fascinated. And so George Washington Carver said, there is going to be a great spiritual awakening in the world, and it's going to come from people connected with you and me. It's going to arise from people going about their work and putting God into what they do, from people who believe in prayer and want to make God real to mankind. So he was living that example of love in action and uplifting and uniting people, and he had an unwavering belief in the universal good. And even when people were mad at him for his poor administrative duties that he would not follow through on. And I think he had a lot of similarities with Ernest Holmes, actually. Their eras overlapped, where Ernest Holmes, the founder of Science of Mind, studied religion and put like a scientific framework to it. And like, these are the steps to follow to strengthen your belief and your faith. George Washington Carver used his faith to expand on science and reveal more of that. So there's like a kind of a mirror to that. And they both did a lot of traveling and self-educating on their journeys too. So I'll leave you with an Ernest Holmes quote. Love must become universal before it can reach maturity. All who live in harmony with the truth are brothers in it. And I think that they live that well. Now we have our benediction, closing song.
We have first-time visitors.
I'm just, chomping at the bit.
Yes. So who's here for the very first time on this Father's Day? Fantastic. So good to see you. Welcome, welcome. I'm so glad you're here. And Morgan has something for you. So beautiful for you to be here. And how many people feel like they're going to be at the solstice karaoke on Friday? How many people are coming? Okay. All right. So if other people want to come, please sign up so we'll know how many people will be there. I will be singing. Oh, my God. I do not know yet. I do not know. All right. Right. What's my song? Barbie Girl. I don't know that song. Oh, no. That's not going to be my song. All right, y'all. We'll stand up. We need a rousing rendition of our closing song, brief, and I'll do our benediction, and we're out. And here we go. I release and let go is what we're doing.
I release and I let go. I let the Spirit run my life, and my heart is open and wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. No more struggle, no more strife. With my faith, I see the light. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God.
And I forgot to say that Margot LeDuc will be our musical inspiration next week. Is that correct? So if you all know Margot, she'll be here next week. All right. So I am love. I am whole. I am healed. And love to all of the fathers in the world. And so it is. Have a great week, everybody. Love y'all.